Hey guys, I'm David Demuzio.
And I'm Steve Cook.
Welcome to Hair Loss Hope, and today we are going to be reacting to reason number 2 of Baldcafe and Harry's 5 reasons I chose not to get a hair transplant. Now, a quick disclaimer that I don't know if Harry's reasons have changed since he posted this video a year or two ago. I know everyone's perspective and reasons behind why they do things is constantly evolving. And so I don't want to hold him to any of the things that he says in this video as being his current perspective. It might not have been. I appreciate the fact that he's sharing his perspective with us because it's very valid, and he's a very valid person within the hair loss community and has helped a lot of people. So yep, this is just our perspective to his perspective, basically. All right, so we're going to go with reason number 2, which looks like it's not a cure. So let's see what Harry has to say on why he chose not to get a hair transplant.
Reason number 2 that I'm not getting a hair transplant is that it's not a permanent fix. You see, I mistakenly thought that a hair transplant was a one-off thing, right? You pay your money, you get it transplanted from the back into the front or at the crown, you're done. Your hair grows back after a 6 month sort of recovery process, 6 months to a year, and that's it. But no. You see guys who often go for one hair transplant and then getting a second and a third. And even when you're 65 years old, okay, let's say 60s, it's going to have gone again. It's going to be left with a strange look, and a lot of guys end up at that stage just shaving your head off anyway.
And you think it's going to fix. I had hair transplants. I had my first one, I think, when I was like 26. I had 3 of them. I should have never done anything. I should have shaved my head from the beginning. And so whenever kids ask me online, like dudes ask me, I'm fucking freaking out, I'm only 18, I'm losing my hair. Shave it, bitch. Just deal with that. Just accept the fact you don't have any hair.
So I thought, why not just cut to the chase, go for the no-nonsense approach, just get it done now, get it done early, and now I'm set for life. After the first hair transplant, really, it just buys you more time with your hair, right? It just gives you more time, like I said, 6 months to a year of recovery, and then it can give you, 5 or 6 years, not even in some cases, with this new hair before I'm gonna start worrying about when it's gonna start to fall out again, and I need to go for that second procedure. So for me, it doesn't take away that worry. It doesn't take away that fear of the hair falling out again when you get the hair transplant. It just buys you a bit more time. Now, reason number
2 Harry chose not to get a hair transplant is that there is no cure for going bald. And it sounds like from his perspective that it's sort of hopeless. This is something where eventually you're going to have to shave your head anyway. That's what Joe Rogan said. So why would I even try? And he ended there on saying it just buys you a bit more time. And I think that is actually partly true. But I feel like that's the reason that most of us do most things in life, right? Is that it buys us a bit more time. Like, we're all going to die. We're all going to get old. That's the reason there's any cosmetic surgery at all. That's the reason that we get, insurance. That's the reason that we go to the doctor. I mean, why would we go to the doctor when we're sick? Is just to buy ourselves a bit more time. Why would we ever go to the hospital to get, if we got cancer, why would you go try and cure your cancer? It's like, it's just going to buy you a bit more time. Maybe you only get another year or 2 left. And now I know we're talking about cancer and hair transplants, but we're talking about in cosmetic surgery, the fact that during your most prolific sort of mating years of your life, let's say maybe 20 to 40 years old, these 20 years, like looking way better in a lot of people's perspective, like and maybe in your own perspective, which is the most important. So all of this is sort of to buy yourself more time. And definitely that's why do girls wear makeup at all? It's to buy themselves a little bit better looks than they've got. It's like to make themselves feel better, look better, to find maybe more attractive mates when they go out, maybe look better so they get paid more money for jobs. The reason behind so many different things that we do. The other thing I want to talk about, or maybe Steve can, is the idea that there's not a cure and that you're just going to have to shave it eventually. What's your thoughts on that, Steve?
Well, today in the industry, we have the advantage, and we have for a while, of using preventative treatments. And a lot of our videos talk about the use of the oral finasteride, the Propecia. David and I have found a little secret where they add minoxidil into that pill so you don't have to rub it on your head, because no one in the history of my life could rub that stuff on their heads twice a day and not have it irritate the scalp or mess up their hair. So the advantage of the oral regimen is huge. It but talk about buying more time. Like, you're talking about buying a lot of time. We've got case after case after case of patients that think they need a hair transplant or shave their heads, go on the medication, and you know what? In 6 to 8 months, they're looking really good. Their crown has filled in, their hair is thicker. Maybe they don't have the optimum hairline that they set out for, but it's good enough. Depends on their age and depends on their confidence. So I would disagree, and I would say that comparatively speaking to 20 years ago, that absolutely is the case, where you kept putting hair in your head and the other hair just kept falling out.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Joe Rogan. I don't know Joe Rogan's age off the top of my head. I'd say that he's probably early 50s.
I don't know. I would guess, yeah, or late 40s, early 50s. Yeah.
So hair transplants hadn't come as far probably when he got his first hair transplant. Medication wasn't as necessarily readily available. Definitely information-wise, it wasn't very available. So many people back then, even when I was first looking into my own hair loss, which was only 10, 12, 15 years ago, there was just so little information. Like, there wasn't much on YouTube. It was hard to find. There were just a couple crappy forums that were really strangely regulated and things, and it was hard to get information. But these days, I mean, I'll give the perspective of both me and my brother. So my brother Mark was starting to go bald as well here about a year or two ago, and he called Steve, got on this oral medication, and now his hair looks great again. He got all his hair back. Now he was just starting to have a little recession along the sides, but he caught it early enough that here he is now. Mark's 31, I guess, and he has no hair loss. And there's a good chance that if he stays on that pill, that he will never need a hair transplant. And if he does, maybe it'll be one. From my own perspective, I have needed multiple hair transplants, like Harry said, but yet here I am approaching 40 and my hair looks awesome. It looks like better than it did when I was 21 years old. So yeah, I mean, even if I have a little recession over the years and don't ever have another surgery, my hair is still going to look just so much better, I think, than for sure, than it ever would. I'm way outpacing what my dad did. My dad was completely bald by the time he was my age. And then you got someone like Steve, who, yes, Steve uses powder in his hair and uses, some different concealers and stuff like that. But Steve had a few hair transplants back before they were even any good, and 20 to 30 years before there was even preventative treatments and medications. And yet still Steve, now all these years later, is walking around with hair, and with, or at least he definitely hair, but for sure the perception of hair. I mean, anyone who comes up to Steve on the street is going to go like, oh yeah, that guy's got pretty good hair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy, and isn't that what it's all about? I mean, one of my favorite sayings is Superman has kryptonite, and everybody has something. I mean, I can't get any taller, so if I lose my hair, I guess I got to work on hair transplants. And hair transplants are not for everyone. Joe Rogan is an example where, who knows? I mean, maybe he set out with his 3 hair transplants with too much hair loss, and maybe he was someone that they should have never done surgery on in the first place. And I was telling David earlier today that the top clinics, the clinics that I like to align myself with, are turning away most of the patients. And that's not anything against the patient. Most of the time, it's just putting them on the preventative treatments. So again, back to the video of it's all going to fall out. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. I mean, if I've made it this far, I think you got a shot.
I think so too. And especially these days with so much education, if you're catching your, self going bald early enough and you're able to get on medication, as we'll watch the rest of Harry's video and get his perspective on that, then, and you have a little bit of money that you can spend over some time, you really shouldn't ever need to go bald, unless that's just your personal choice and the way that you would prefer to look. So that's pretty cool that I think these days, a lot of people can look however they prefer to and whichever way they prefer to go. So, all right, well, catch us for the next video on number 3 reason why Harry would choose not to get a hair transplant.